Hey guys, it's an election season. St. George City elections are the most important thing. We want you to go to votestg.com and find out who's running and what they stand for. See us all over Southern Utah in our voter information booth. We'll be at Digby's Market, Red Rock Bicycles, and the park. We'll see you out there. Water Conservancy District held their meeting last week and unveiled their 20-year strategy and plan. They beat the city of St. George with their 20-year plan, their proposed 20-year plan, downtown plan, that they still have not solidified, that expired in 2020. It expired in 2020, and they still have not finalized a draft. But the Washington County Water Conservancy District luckily has. So it's probably because the city can't do it until the water district does it, is what my guess is.
So what has the city been doing the last 4 years?
Nothing, Jeff.
Arguing amongst themselves.
I honestly wish, if you're listening to this, please drop in the comment success that the city of St. George has had, because I'm not trying to insult anybody, any of the people working over there.
Absolutely
I
not.
want to legitimately understand what are we hanging our hat on as an accomplishment.
That'd be really interesting to see, like who out there views what the St. George.
They've staffed the police. I would say that they've staffed the police.
But who
they're
feels,
working on the fire?
But who feels that they're being represented, and what was that win? That
Yeah.
it would be really cool to know, because one person may view that there was not effective government, and that someone else might say they solved a great problem for me, and they're super happy. I'd like to know what that
I
is.
think they crushed the art in town too.
There's four different opinions that I would like to know. I'd like to know the mayor's opinion. I'd like to know the city council.
Well, I don't think you'll get the mayor's opinion.
Well, I'm just saying I'd like to be able to compare all.
If I could schedule one with her,
but, yeah.
It's not a problem scheduling. It's a problem getting her to show up. But
yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess I could schedule.
So I'd like to know her opinion. I'd like to know someone from the city council's opinion. I'd like to know someone from the administration's opinion, like a bureaucrat, and then I'd like to know a couple different citizens' opinions on what's been.
I will clarify. I do think that they have accomplished a few things. Now that I really put my brain to it, I think staffing, from what I've gathered on the police side, they've staffed the police and they have a solid plan around staffing the police and keeping that important, which I think is important, and fire as well.
After some,
they've done pretty good job with the parks. I think the parks are all great, man, and the trails. I think they do a great job maintaining all of that.
For sure, that's part of what St. George is.
Yeah,
I mean.
There's not much they could really do with traffic. Truthfully, I don't think there's that much they could even accomplish.
If you're a listener and you had a problem in your life, or some barrier or something, and the St. George government did something to fix it that really was meaningful to you,
drop it in.
Comment or message us. We'd love to hear that story. We want to know what's going on. Like, what did they do that really helped somebody?
That was on the good side.
Yeah.
Because I think we always get the things that are not going well. That's a main focus.
Well, it's always easy to complain. It's always easy to complain.
And I started the whole conversation with complaining. But let's get back to water.
Awesome.
Real quick. I appreciate you saying that, because it kind of recalibrates the right thought process. Water.
So what were you saying about the Conservancy District, what they said?
By 2023, we have gone above our rate, expected yield rate, right? We can guarantee, or we can average out that we're going to for sure get this much water. After 2023, our development exceeds that rate at what we can expect for water on a year-to-year basis.
Yield per home or yield per permit?
It's the yield,
or just total water per population per person.
Use. It's the total water used, not including agricultural. Mm-hmm. I think agricultural water we have plenty of.
Yeah, it's 90. I think it's 93 or somewhere around 93% of our total water usage is agricultural.
But that's because so much of our water is non-potable water that the cost to treat it and the facilities to treat that is so extreme that we can't bear that burden at the current moment.
Non-potable,
right?
Like we're drilling for it and pulling it out of the water, or pulling it out of the ground.
Pulling out of the ground, but even certain runoffs, that the quality of the water at the time that you collect it, right? Or if you have a reservoir and you fill it full of water that you can't drink, it doesn't really do you any good, right? And so I think it's just a complicated issue on collecting potable water. So we have a current rate yield of like, what can we actually make available to the public that's being used and through the pipes on any given year, right? Period. Like, that's it. What's our current capabilities to do it? we're at the max. Every house built after 2023 is outside of that yield rate. Last year, Hurricane was having developers sign specifically saying that they cannot guarantee water for this plat. There's 72,000 platted, unbuilt pieces of property in Washington County. 72,000. Over the next 4 years, it doesn't get better next year, the year after, the year after. They can't start saying it because the reuse water system doesn't kick in until 4 years from now. I think it was like I have to look at their graph.
It was the graveyard wash that was going to be finished first,
Graveyard
right?
wash has to be finished first before we can connect the full reuse system, and then that'll add. Guess what the yield rate bumps us to?
It's like, is it
1,200? 1,200. That's it. So thinking, how many homes do we need to build a year?
Well,
go back to this is another data, Chem Gardner data. How many homes do we need to build a year to maintain equilibrium in price? 3,500 homes is the expectation. Population growth.
That math is not checking out.
The math doesn't check out, and we've missed the deficit for every single year except for last year for 12 years.
So correct me if I'm wrong then, but I remember we were chatting with Adam Snow, who's a water. He's
county commissioner.
And he's also very involved in water.
It's important for water is the biggest line item on his agenda.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but I remember us having a conversation about the reuse system, and he said when that was completed, it would free up 6,500
homes.
It would free up water enough for 6,500 more residential homes.
Right. So that's where then we only have another runway up until we meet that, right? Because if we have a deficit of homes and we flood to that market, or we actually build those as they go, because what if we just because the yield rate isn't saying that we for sure will not have enough water for that every single house, but we could drop to a point where all of a sudden somebody's house gets shut off, and then how do you start to regulate that? God could be bless us with water and rain on us all the time, and we don't not worry about it.
Shout out to Governor Cox for praying for rain last year.
And then you know what I love that he did, and it's something that I brought up before. He did release like we all need to say thank you to God for delivering on that. Like we did it. He answered, and then he said thank you, and I appreciated that because at first it didn't feel like he was going. I was like, hey, yo, I think we all need to say a amen for him actually performing on that prayer, because we nailed it and we got mocked. We got mocked for that, which is so frustrating. So frustrating to me. Why would you mock somebody for that? Somebody do a prayer and then do a whole state, and you have like a whole state of people that my whole family, we went outside, we said a prayer for rain. I saw that. We had already prayed like 15 times for water, but by that point, but still, I thought it was an impressive thing. Big shout out. Yeah, you guys, nobody likes
no.
Brandon hates talking about politics and religion, which is the funniest thing. I'll talk about together. When you bring it up at the same tandem, you can see him shut down. If you're watching the video, you can see his look. Okay, so what my takeaway is this.
We're all gonna die.
Conservation. Like we just have to have a legitimate concerted effort. But I just know there's somebody in the comments right now thinking if they're moving here and we don't have water, they should be the first ones not to get water. Like somebody is taking the alternative position, is like, don't build anything then. It's like, what? But if we do that, the residual impact is not good either. So like, what's the answer? Like, what do we do?
I read a comment one time, and someone had described a scenario in which the government forces people to move out because we don't have enough water.
You hear that on Glenn Beck or something?
Gateway Pundit?
It was Facebook.
Alex Jones?
It was probably the St. George.
But that's the thing, is that like
posted right after they said Facebook does not have authorization to use my photos for any purposes, and I own all the rights. That right after that post,
probably. Anyway,
what I think this conservation is important. The building community and the mayor and the city of St. George and the community needs to come out and talk about this. Like we need to take the next 3 months and legitimately have as many honest conversations as we can about water and development and growth. Because Hurricane has this boom of land. Guess what? They don't have water.
Yeah.
Just that Sand Hollow Gateway right there is thousands of units.
Yeah.
And,
but then we start prioritizing.
And,
we're going to start prioritizing, okay, well, what's the most valuable piece of property that does have the water? And then that'll get developed and it'll slow things down. And so the market might just be just fine, right? I might be, a Chicken Little at a certain point, but it seems pretty drastic that we just need to get it all out there and be honest with everybody about the data and not try to move a narrative one particular way or another. I think we just need to have honest conversations.
Well, I'm going to just interject my wealth management opinion on this really quick. Because here's the deal, is all this stuff has a probability to it, right? Especially if you run the scenarios. Right. Anyways, if you look at what the probabilities are, 1 or 2 standard deviations away from the mean, okay, that is where I recommend people live their life, right? What is not possibilities, but probabilities, okay? And so sometimes around water, what you start having when you start having these conversations is people saying that's the Chicken Little conversation. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to buy in St. George, or I'm not going to buy in Southern Utah because in 5 years there's going to be no water. And so, I'm just not going to participate. And they're living their life way down on a tail end event, right? And if that tail end event comes,
we got a lot of other
congratulations, but you have way bigger problems than what your house is worth at that point, right? Like you probably have way bigger problems. And so what you end up doing is you end up living your life where you're losing the game in the world of probabilities and what's probably really going to happen, and you're missing out because you're so scared about these tiny tail end events that are just actually not that likely to happen. I think water falls into that, right?
Yeah. I
don't think, the county is going to come to my house and force me out of my home because I was the unlucky one that got my water shut off or something. I think there's solutions out there. I trust in technology and scientific advancement. I think there's ways to solve these problems.
Yeah.
And I think we just have to do what we're doing, which is bringing the conversation together. And so what I don't want to have people do, or what I don't want to accidentally encourage somebody to do, is to not participate, right? Because they're just worried that it's going to be this doomsday event, right?